to Mox here, and I'm joined with a special guest in studio today. We have Coach Carrie Shephard of the Mineral Area College Cardinals. Coach, how are you?
I'm doing good. Can't complain. Can't complain.
We're a couple months removed from the season, from a heck of a year. All the community and all the fans enjoyed this year, had a lot of success this year. I would say it ended a little sooner than we had hoped. I'm sure you feel the same. But a couple months removed, and are you able to kind of think back on the season, and what are your thoughts?
I think it was a really good year when you take a step back and just look at it as a whole. I see a lot of growth. Freshmen having to grow up and a lot, and those sophomores having to, be accountable. So it's like, they don't get to just wake up and expect to do things. Like, no, like you have to put this work in every single day just to make a dent and have a chance at winning. So I think those tough lessons, they were able to learn those things throughout the year, especially by two coaches that love them more than anything. So that kind of made it easier.
You mentioned the two coaches, and sadly, Briley Palmer, or maybe excitedly,
Yeah, for sure.
she gets to go on to the sort of, I guess, the next stage of D1 college basketball. She's been announced, I think, last week.
Mm-hmm.
She's the head coach, the head women's coach down at your alma mater,
Right.
and my wife's as well,
Right.
SEMO Redhawks.
Right.
Excited for her, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, big time, big time. I mean, it was funny because I go down to Cape every Sunday for church. Like, I make that drive all year long. And even when I took this job, I kind of told her, like, look, that's my foundation. That is the most important thing to me that allows me to be myself at my best. And she, embraced that and let me keep that value and standard, and I did that. And every Monday morning I'd come back and I'd tell her, hey, look, the preacher said these 3 things that just knocked me out. And I just tell her, and before the job came up, I told her that Sunday before, one of his big points was God uses busy people. And I said, babe, I don't know anybody as busy as you are. So I said, God opened that door for you. I said, you don't get to disqualify yourself. He qualifies you. Go for it. And helped her along the way, still help her however I can. And so definitely excited for her.
What are the SEMO Redhawks getting? When they had that press conference and they sign, everything's signed and it's all ink and dry, what are they getting with Coach Palmer?
First and foremost, they're getting a hard-working hustler. I always tell her, like, man, like, when it comes to her programs, she's never off the clock. Even we go to C Senior, she's like, hey, you guys are going to come to the game? We have a player game. Like, our schedule was hanging up all throughout the community. So
Yeah.
You're getting somebody that takes pride, and it's not a job for her. Like, she takes pride in the programs and the people that she invests in. So they're definitely getting someone that's going to work their tail off. Someone who's going to represent that community, that program with pride, but someone who's going to unite everybody. BP's not one person that just stands by herself. She's like, no, like, I want us all to enjoy it, like, and have the success together, because she knows how important it is to be connected and to have that trust and to have that unity. So I think they're for sure getting someone that's going to work their tail off, but someone who's going to, let them in on the success as well. Like, she knows it's just not her. And she knows to be successful is going to take more than her, and she's not afraid of that. She doesn't shy down from that. So they're definitely going to get someone who's not just going to, work their tail off and, put out a good product on the floor, but she's like, no, like, you come be a part of this too and value that as well.
Well deserving, you think?
Oh, yeah, well deserving.
Yeah. What would you say, you had a lot of success this last season, like we mentioned. What would you attribute to some of that success? Was it the players? Was it the coaching? Was it the team unity? What are some of the things, even the basic stuff like hard work and talent and shooting, whatever it might be? What do you think led to some of that success that you guys had?
I think it's like a mixture of all of those things. But when I think of the season, I think it was the fact that it wasn't always the same people. And so that, as a coach for me, was a great motivational tool to keep people locked in. Like, one game is KT, the next game is Remy, and then boom, we play Wabash, and it's Maddie Ayers, and then boom, it's Ash. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it really kept them locked in, because, like, you never know, it could be your night. And they didn't realize it was like that. I was like, look, I've been a part of successful teams. I know what it takes to win, and it takes everybody all the time. So I think just keeping them locked into that, but also just, reminding them of the journey along the way. Because I think it's easy to go through a season and just think about the game before, the game what's next. But it's like, when you really look back over the last 2 weeks of games, okay, here I'll come being the bad guy. Did you get better or did you not? And then it's like, if you didn't, okay, what do we got to do to get you back on track? So just making sure you stay along with them in that process and make sure they celebrate those little wins. It doesn't look the same all the time. You might be top scorer, might not. You might be the top rebounder, might not. But it's like there's so many ways to impact a game. And it's just getting them to buy into that, whatever that role is for that game. And if you can do that for your team, we're going to win, no matter, who we're playing. So that's kind of was my approach to it, is making sure that I'm keeping people bought into what helps the team and helping them realize what helps the team helps you. So.
Are you a team first mentality type of coach?
Oh yeah, for sure. Because I've been on teams where I'm one of the most talented. I've been on teams where I'm not. But I know how important roles are. Like my last year playing at SEMO when we won the OVC championship, I'll never forget. I had a teammate, her name was Denisha, and so Denisha was a fifth year. So most times you just want to get your degree, get on out, and she bought into her role, and all she wanted to do was defend and rebound. If she got the rebound, she's like, "Where's Carrie?" Like she didn't even want to score. Like what person doesn't want to score? But she knew how valuable that was to our team. And once I was able to get everybody else to hey, look, you do this really well, and when you do this really well all the time, no one can stop us, And I think a lot of players want to be the guy, but it's like if you be your guy consistently all the time, which you're already good at. So I'm not asking you to do something you can't do. If you do that all the time, why can't we have success? And then you would enjoy your role in playing like yourself. That's where the freedom and the confidence comes. You're not confident because you're trying to do something you're not prepared to do because you haven't put in that type of work, So that's kind of I'm always going to be a team first person, because even the best player, their challenge is making sure how you guys get involved so their life can be a little easier. So you can't do it by yourself. High school, I learned that. Sitting there 40 points, okay, you lost. It doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? So I learned a lot early, very early, that you can't do it by yourself. And I'm glad you can't do it by yourself. I'd be worn out by now. So definitely team first always.
Transitioning from a player to a coach, was that an easy transition for you? And do you feel like being a successful athlete yourself and player yourself, do you think that helps you coach?
I think it was an easy transition for me just because so my career, a lot of the times I was, climbing the ranks, trying to do different things, just, help my mom have a better life, that kind of thing. And then when she passed after college, I was like, okay, I'm going to go play overseas. It's going to be great on my resume. So when I do coach, you've seen I've had success at every level. So the only way you tell me I'm not qualified for this job is if I'm not the right fit. And if I'm not the right fit, I understand that. But you can't say it's because of what I haven't done on this piece of paper. And so played in Ireland, had success in Ireland, great. And it hit me when I came back to the States. It's like I have these gold medals and things. I'm like, what am I supposed to do with it? Because usually I just drop it off at the house. Mom, here, do what you want with it. Okay, I'm about to go play ball. But so there was no motivation after that, because it was like I go somewhere and I play and I do well. I expect to do well. I work my tail off. I put a lot into my craft. And you get an award and it's like, what's the award for? So I've never played basketball for myself. So the next thing that I could give back to honor my mom and still give back to God for that gift is teaching it. For me to have the success that I had at 5'3" all my life, I gotta know something. So, but I realized that I did a lot of skill training, things like that. I got more joy of teaching kids how to play and just seeing the smiles on their face, like I can actually do it if I just practice. And just seeing kids, and I say kids because they're all younger than me, just get it. When that light bulb goes off in their head and I'm like, I can do it. That moment right there, better than any bucket I've ever scored, because I'm like, good, you believe in yourself. And that's all I can do, and encourage you along the way. So I knew for sure that coaching was going to be something that I wanted to do. But I really like doing skill development just because I pay attention to the details. So, yeah, it was an easy transition for me, and I knew, even after year one, my dude is like my dad, Chuck. He's like, when you make that step, make sure you're done, because you can't just, dilly-dally and go back. And I was like, I get it. I said, but I can always go play pickup games. I'm like, I'm a has-been at this point. It doesn't matter. No one's like, oh, is Carrie Shephard dropping 20 at the Y? No. Like, no one cares about that. I don't even care about that. So, yeah, it was an easy transition, though.
So I coached a little football back in the day. I don't really do it too much now other than volunteer. But I love the whole game of football. And I think if you coach, you have to understand all the different phases of football. But I would say my true love is defense. Basketball is a little bit different because it switches so often and it's so fast paced. Do you have a particular thing that you enjoy coaching more than the other? You kind of mentioned the skill thing.
Yeah.
Do you lean one way more than the other?
I kind of like the game within the game. So like defensively, my mindset is like, look, if I ain't scoring, you ain't scoring either. That's the mentality that I have. But again, as a team, so defensively, like if I'm teaching defense to a group of people, I'm like, we got 5 people guarding the ball. That should be your mindset. The people, that you're guarding, they don't have the ball, so you put yourself in a position where you can defend the ball, and if your man gets it, you go to the ball, just like your mindset approach to it. But then allowing that to be your offense. So if you think about it, some of the rotations that are taught in American basketball is the same. Like you have this type of rotation coming this way. So if you go baseline, you know someone's going to have a corner drift. So if you know all of that, those rotations, use that on offense as well. So when I'm attacking baseline, I'm taught to take that away so I know where my next pass is going to be. So I kind of use both of them to kind of balance it out. So if I'm thinking offensively, I'm thinking about, okay, where the defense helping at? Because I know I could get past the person in front of me, but who's going to help them? And then when I'm on defense is, if I take this away, okay, who's going to help me to make sure my person doesn't get it? So I kind of use both of them to kind of speak for themselves. But as an offensive person, of course, I love offense. But it's the game within the game. So the person who has the ball, depending on who they are, I might not look for them to score. I might look for them, okay, get this guy engaged and then kick to this person, and then we have them scrambling after that. So I kind of, like I said, I kind of use both of them. If I had to pick which one I'd rather have, I think I'd probably pay more attention to the defense because that could end up being your offense. But I kind of use both.
Me and my family, we missed very few home games this year. And seeing you on the sideline, if you didn't know any better, you were very active in the game. And I know like personnel is probably one of your responsibilities where you're doing matchups and who's coming in. And so you have to be vocal in that sense, but you're very active on the sideline.
Yeah.
Is that does that come natural to you, or is that a part of the responsibility, part of the role, or?
Oh, no, that's me. That's me in practice as well. But yeah, I was in charge of like matchups and things like that, and that's just passion. That's me. That's me in practice. I would lose my voice from just practice. So the game was nothing ever different. But yeah, I just always trying to help because, BP's already yelling at the refs. So someone got to help with the players. So she goes yell at the ref. I'm like, hey, do this and this and this, or don't forget about this. You have this. So just trying to have her back. So by the time she's done yelling at the ref, she comes back and see the change on the court. It's weird. I got a warning for standing up. I'm like, why are you paying attention to me? But then I remember, like, they run right there, and I'm the one that's screaming in their ear, even though I'm not screaming at them.
Yeah.
But, yes, I am very, very active. That's just passion, though. That's exactly what that is.
With the personnel matchups and, a lot of that probably comes back to film, right? And, like, all of your prep before game. Some of it maybe changes in game or at halftime. But all the work's almost already done. Now it's sort of up to the players. You guys obviously have a hand in what's happening and make changes you need to. But that prep work, it's being an ex-coach, I know it's like you're saying with Briley, it's like 24/7. And there's so much tape now, and it's so easy to get through. I don't know what program you guys use, but film sharing or wherever you're watching it from, it can almost be too much, right?
Yeah, it can be. I think you just gotta. When you judging players, personnel, and things like that, you got to see them at their best, you got to see them at their worst, and then you got to take in mind who they're playing as well, because, like, I know if I'm playing against a team that's a bunch of 6-footers, it's going to look a little different than me playing against people that are about my size. So sometimes having that much film is a bad thing because it kind of makes you overthink it a little bit, But that's when you go back to, like you said, the prep work, what you've seen at practice, experimenting a little bit sometimes. So there might be times we might throw a little pesky guard on somebody, see how they react to that. So, I mean, even players out there, yeah, they might look like something on film, but when they're fatigued, they're a whole different person. So you have to take all that into account and, not be afraid to fail. Sometimes, I've done that plenty of times. I'm like, oh, you guard this person. They go get a bucket. I was like, oh, that's my bad. Let's change that. So, you just learn as you go. We did a lot of experimenting that way as well. But yeah, sometimes the film can get a bit overbearing, but that's why, I just make it to where it's less normal. I like watching basketball anyways, so I just watch full games at the house, chop it up, and text BP, and sometimes she'd be like, hey, I'm watching film on this, come on by. So we'd have food over at her house and watch it. But it's easy for someone, if you love watching the game, and just trying to see the coach's strategy, how he likes to use his players, how they like to do different things, and it kind of makes it a little bit easier. But when you're sitting at a desk and you're just looking at clip, I don't like that. I like watching it fluid. So yeah, it can get a bit much for sure.
Yeah, the clip by clip thing, it goes quicker that way, but you kind of lose the flow of it. And especially with basketball, there's definitely a flow. With this season, men and women, it was such a special time at MAC. Obviously, we have 2 coaching changes. We're having 2 huge losses, and again, happy for them to move on to that next level, whatever it might be. Where would you like to see MAC go? How do we build on some of that success that we had this year? How do we build on that for the future?
Right. I think just even witnessing the growth on both sides, just seeing that place packed like that, it was just a no-brainer that this place is a basketball place and they will support you. I think one way we can build off that is continue to keep the recipe the same, but add a little to that. So if we've had the success, we want to maintain it, but to take it to the next level is doing something you didn't get to do the previous season. So for us, it's gonna sound cliche, but we're gonna make it past the first round. That's the next goal, and then compete for that championship title, and then go to the national tournament. For the men, they had the success the whole year, being ranked, all that. It's not paying attention to that, the ending. How are we gonna get past the ending? Because it's easy to look at the record. The record might not be the same, and you still might have a better result. So it's just keeping the main thing, but not shutting out the people that made it possible, which is community, which is the program, the schools, all the people that play their role in investing into MAC athletics. And just, again, that's part of the main thing as well. You're only as good as the people you're surrounded by. So I think the main thing is keeping the people included, keeping them coming back hey, look, I know things are changing, but look, we still believe in this place. We're going to be just as invested, and we still want you to be a part of that, and I think that'll be a big part of continuing that success. But then also, especially speaking for our program, is just you're going to do even more now. These people have invested in you when you had the success. You need to make sure that you're representing them just as well as you, your family, same way. Invest back into them, and you do that by how you play, giving your time, things like that, keeping the main thing, and it should be fine.
We're in recruiting right now.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of funny. Talking about SEMO, one of my good buddies is Jeremy McDowell. He's offensive coordinator down at SEMO, and their season ended, and everybody was like, good season. Now you can get a break. Well, that's really where a lot of the work starts, is right after the season ends. And we're kind of in that window now, and I would say even a lot of recruiting has already happened. Yeah. And you lost some great players, to graduation, and a few, I think, to transfer as well. How do we build back this team? How do we get the players that we need to have some of the success that we're talking about?
Again, I think you need to, one, appreciate those that have given their time and talents to this program, and also keep in mind that sometimes, for example, KT, I might not find another player like KT, but if I can get 2-3 other players that can do what she does as a team, you just have to fill that role of a spot. You can't, every player is different. Every team is going to be different. You could bring back everybody and still have a different team. And I think it's all about appreciating what that person did for the team and realizing what they brought to the team. And then you have to look at your personnel that you have now. We still have some of our recruits returning, some of our freshmen returning. So our team is already going to be looking different just from that point, even from a leadership standpoint. So I think when it comes to that, again, appreciating those that came through and what they brought, and then after seeing the league with what you have, what kind of offense you're going to run, what kind of defense are you going to run. So you have to change your mindset a little bit from what was before because you don't have those same people. So I think, yeah, like recruiting-wise, kind of ties your hands with just like where things are right now. But it's all about the vision that you have and the playing style that you want to have. But again, if you have a certain playing style, you have to recruit that type of personnel. And the personnel that we recruited for this team is going to be more athletic, more fast-paced, up-tempo, more defensive-minded team. So it's going to look different regardless who's going to be the helm after BP's departure. But you got to think about the players that you have and put them in a position to be successful. So that's kind of how recruiting is looking for us right now.
I've heard before, a new head coach comes in and he might go, and I'm thinking of somebody specifically, but he's like, I can try to change the 100 players on my team, their mindset, where they're at, and the system that they've run so far, or I can change depending on what I'm inheriting or what I'm getting or what I have. Mm-hmm. Is that kind of what you're saying, is like you have to change depending on what you have, what your players are able to do and what maybe they're not able to do?
Yeah. I think when the word change is just so intense, I think the main thing is to adjust. Just an adjust, because like coaches have their own philosophy of what they want to see, and things like that. So like if I'm coaching, I have a certain way that these standards, this is what I wanted to look like, this is what we're going to do, especially and it's easy to do that with defense, but then it's like, okay, we can do that, but then offensively, if we're going to do this, what do we have? So offense, you have a little more wiggle room to do different type of things based on personnel. So I would say like you could have your philosophy of what you want to look like, but it just depends on, okay, do you get to bring the kids that you've already recruited? Because then you wouldn't have to technically adjust to most of it. But, like, if you're inheriting a team, it's like your hands are kind of tied. Okay, this is what we want. I know we've been used to this, but this is what we have. So I might have to tweak that a little bit, but I can still sprinkle in those principles so, like, the next year we can build on what I truly think this team can do or what I really want to do. So you wouldn't have to probably change, but you would definitely have to adjust. And I think that's the good thing. You can't be too stubborn when it comes to that. It might backfire on you.
Absolutely. Coach Palmer's going to be down in SEMO. Who knows MAC women's basketball better than you?
That's a tough question because it's hard for me to say that because, again, being here at MAC is, we have a lot of people helping, but, like, it's usually me and her bouncing ideas off things. Like, I feel like I was more than an assistant to just the program. I was like an assistant to her life, whether that's with her kids, or, just anything that she kind of needed. Because, that's my role, to serve and help however I can to make this program successful. But after the year that I've had and, like, meeting people within the community and just basically being at her hip all the time, making sure she has what she needs, I've fallen in love with this place. I wasn't one of the fortunate ones to go JUCO. Was D1 my whole career, and I played with some JUCO products, and they had that chip in their shoulder, and I 110% get it now. Like, it's a special place. Like, some of the experience that these girls are having, they won't have it at that 4-year. Like, and that's coming from someone who's been 4 years for 6 years. But it's like that love and that personal touch that you get from, like, the people, the crowd, the community, your coaches. Because, like, you might have more coaches, but you won't have them have that undivided attention like you had with us. So when it comes to MAC basketball, man, it's something that has worn on me that I'm proud of, proud to say that I'm a part of. Wear it proudly on my T-shirts and things like that, but it's just like this place has become another home to me quickly, and didn't even expect that. Like, even after the season, I mean, people have reached out and asked me, like, hey, like, are you gonna go, take over? Or, like, what are you gonna do? Like, we really hope it's you. Like, just coming out. Like, half of them, like, you know what? I remember you, like, because I meet so many people, but you never know who's watching. You just never know. But when it comes to MAC basketball after this year and really soaking in everything and learning everything. I don't think there's anybody that knows more about it than I do right now.
Well, I said it with a little bit of a loaded question, so I didn't mean to
No,
set you
you
up, or
good.
maybe I did. Do you have the leadership qualities that
Oh.
it takes to run and be the head coach and be the guy, be the guy, gal that's in the ear of the referee, and also taking the criticism of, potentially you might not have a successful season as much as you did last year.
For sure.
So the community, you might hear from community or media or whatever it is. Is that a load that you're able to take on?
Oh, for sure. I had the same load as a player. Especially in being on talented teams and not having the success people thought we should have. I mean, there were games where I was the guy. There was games where I didn't show up and we didn't win, and I knew it was on me. But I think leadership is all about sacrifice and serving. Leadership, like, you cannot be a great leader if you don't serve. And that's me at my core. That's me at my heart, and that's because of my faith background and my faith foundation. So when it comes to leadership, I know it'll breed success because it's rooted in the right way. So when it comes to that, and that's like the team. Like if I'm the head coach, we're going to learn how to be a team, and you become a team through sacrifice and serving. You don't have to like each other. You don't have to be best friends, but you're going to sacrifice for the greater good of this team, and you're going to serve each other. And that's how I live my life. And it's got me pretty good results. So when it comes to leadership, it's not nothing that I'm afraid of. The refs, I know I'm not afraid of them, so they're definitely going to hear my voice like they already do. But I think I have a level head of, not getting rattled, not being stubborn, kind of know when and where to be a little more aggressive, things like that. But like I just stay focused. I'm a very disciplined, focused person. So it takes a lot to get me rattled, and you get me rattled when you're not treating my girls right. So that's when I get that's when I get the warnings on the bench. But leadership is something I'm not worried about.
A lot of players will go on and they'll end up playing D1.
Mm-hmm.
Some don't, though.
Mm-hmm.
Some might go into just, education. They might continue their education or go into the career field or whatever it is for them. How important is academics in the program? Because I think, the community will want to know that.
Mm-hmm.
If you would become the head coach, is academics still going to be one of the priorities?
Oh, for sure. A lot of them think, I'm here to play basketball. Like, no. You got it twisted. You're using basketball to get a degree, and you got a scholarship that's paying for it. And I think that's something, even as a player, it's like, look, like these people are letting you use your God-given talent to give you a degree of your choice for free. And so if you do things right, you have that piece of paper, which is something no one can take away from you. Your stats, no one cares. I mean, even me now, I don't care about them stats. You got to get a job at some point. So my approach is we're going to use basketball to teach you how to be disciplined, to teach you how to be accountable, to work on those characteristics, things like having good character and integrity. We're going to use that, and you're going to learn the hard way from me, because I love you, how you approach that same thing in the classroom. Trust me, the girls realized this year. Think you got away with it. Yo, come see Shep tomorrow after practice. We're gonna be on the line. We're gonna run every single day until you get the idea. But academics to me, and that's how I was raised. You don't get to go hoop until that homework is done. So I used to do my homework on the bus on the way home, check the folder, and then I get to go play, because that's the way it is. You can't play basketball forever. Everyone knows that. But when the ball stops bouncing, you got to have a job. And you have to be able to learn how to live out here in society. And you can't be bouncing around and just thinking you're going to show up to your job 2 minutes before, because different things happen. So, like, teaching them those things so that when you get your degree, you're going to have a job, you can keep a job. Because it's one thing to get a job, but then you also got to keep it. Same thing with basketball. It's one thing to call yourself a starter or get you a scholarship, but you got to keep it as well. So my approach to that is academics are going to be first and foremost for me. And letting them know those same standards and that same approach you take to the court that I make you have, you got to have those same ones. Otherwise, it's not going to work, So, but again, having those relationships with those allow me to coach them that way and hold them to that standard. So academics is utmost important, for sure.
Whoever gets the job, they have big shoes or maybe heels to fill, right?
Definitely
Maybe
heels.
that's more
Definitely
appropriate
heels.
way. Are you the right person for the job?
I am the right person for the job. I know that 110%. So I know it's something that it'd be a good way to make sure that, BP's proud to see that program in good hands like that. but also the program, also the community as well. You know, that I am that person for that job, 110%.
And Mac, Lady Cardinals have been very active in the community. Even, you guys came recently to my wife. My wife's a first grade teacher at North County. You did some reading there to some of the kids. I know you're involved in some of the preschools and things around, or the early childhood programs and things like that. Is that something that under your leadership that we could see continuing in the community?
Oh, for sure, because those kids look up to our girls. Boys do too. I mean, like there was boys that I know I went to North County for like I think it's like a field day or something like that, and I was in charge of the dance station. And I was like, well, okay, cool. So every kid that came through there, they danced, whether it was a gritty, whether it was a disco, they knew our girls, boys included. So I mean, like it's good to see that like basketball is reaching those young eyes, but yeah, I want them because at the same time, there's some kids, even at the high schools. Like one thing I want to do with our team is you're going to go watch your local high school games. You're going to go to Central and watch their girls play. You're going to go to Farmington and watch their girls play. You know what I'm saying? Like you're going to go be that face. They need to see you. How can you expect them to come to your games if you're not coming to theirs? And I think that will also help attendance as well. But again, I think that's going to be huge because those kids look up to our girls. So the community would definitely see us, especially me. Like, I'm not going to ever have them do something that I'm not willing to do myself. So the community would definitely continue to see us for sure.
I want to ask you one more question before you get out of here. You might notice some of the Iowa basketball stuff around here.
Yeah, I see it.
We are big Caitlin Clark fans. We actually, this past week, we went and saw her in Indianapolis play for Indiana Fever now. What do you think the state of women's basketball is?
I think it's great. I think one thing people are starting to see now is that there's always been some hoopers in the W. So, just thankful that, they latched on to Caitlin Clark so they can realize that for themselves. But just appreciate the art. Like women's basketball is very skillful. I know there's 3 games on the night. Me and my homegirl Kwanzaa were talking about like who we think's gonna win tonight. We can't wait to watch. Even one of my teammates, Sophie Cunningham, I play with her at Mizzou, so she plays for the Mercury. So I've always watched women's basketball, of course. But I think it's in great hands. I think it's starting to trend because of the publicity that she brought. But I think it's going to be really good for people to see the talent that's in the league. And, you realize, like, especially at the college level, we're all like, oh, my gosh, like, she's hitting this and this and this. But then you'll start to see, like, the Arika Gumbawales of the world or the Cleo Coppers of the world. Like, you get to just see a whole different level of basketball from different positions that you're not really used to. So I think it's in great hands and it's trending in the right direction. So yeah, if you don't already, go ahead and tune in and watch women's sports.
Absolutely, and some of the nationally rated and ranked with the viewership on TV. And my girls, I have 3 daughters, they're all teens and younger, they're super into it, and Angel Reese's and LSU's.
It's crazy. It's definitely crazy.
They were all into it, so I was happy to see that.
Yeah.
This is the Knuckleball Primetime live from the Barn Studio, brought to you by Hubs Pub, Bullpen Sports Grill and Bar, BetterHelp.com/The Barn, and Everest Counseling. Joined here with Mineral Area College basketball coach Carrie Shephard. Carrie, really appreciate your time today, and thanks for coming.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Okay, you're good.
Perfect. Oh, shit.